Good afternoon, everyone. So I just want to start by saying thanks to you all for joining us this afternoon. I know you all are really busy, but thanks for really taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us in this presentation. So to those who don't know who I am, my name is Eddie Agassi, and I'm a branding expert and founder of Apricot Branding. So at Apricot Branding, I help small to mid-sized business owners to really clarify their strategy, refine their design, and amplify their messaging so that way they could achieve bigger results in their marketing and sales efforts. So I currently work with the marketing committee at the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce. I want to start by thanking Mr. Ken White and the rest of our board of directors for really making this event possible and a success. So I've been really looking forward to this presentation. This is actually part of our larger series. So in our last presentation, we talked about building an emotional brand that people love and admire. So in this presentation, we'll be talking about aligning your branding with your marketing. Because one mistake that a lot of people make is they tend to dive right into marketing and sales, and then they completely disregard branding because they don't really understand what it means, and they don't really understand how everything fits together to help them to grow their business. So that's what we'll be talking about in this call, and I hope you all have been looking forward to it. So let's dive in. So I'm gonna start by putting on the screen share. Share screen. Okay, aligning your branding with your marketing. Aligning your branding with your marketing. So let's dive in. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about the difference between branding and marketing and how everything is connected. You're going to learn why you can't really have one without the other. You're going to learn about how leveraging the power of your brand can drive bigger results in your marketing and sales efforts. You're going to learn how can you tell if your branding is really aligned with your marketing efforts or not, so that way you could really assure that everything is aligned. I'll also be providing you with other creative ways that you can really align your branding with your marketing. So aligning your branding with your marketing. So first, we need to understand the relationship. So branding versus marketing. So this is a really long conversation that's been going on for a long time, because some people, they see branding as separate from marketing. Some people see branding as part of marketing. Some people see branding and marketing as the same thing. So it really varies in terms of how people see it. But in this presentation, I just want to start by clarifying, what's the relationship between branding and marketing? What's the difference? So when you're able to really gain a better understanding of the difference and how they're both related, that could really influence you to make the better decisions with your marketing efforts and your branding efforts. So what's the difference between branding and marketing? Well, let's start with branding. So branding is about shaping the perception and the feelings that people have about you, your business, or your organization. So it's about shaping the perception and shaping the feelings that people have. Because, like I said in my last presentation, a lot of times our decisions are based on how we feel in our guts. So your brand is that gut feeling, and branding is about shaping that feeling and that perception. Also, branding is more focused on creating positive associations, emotions, and experiences. So that's what it boils down to: associations, emotions, and experiences. So when you're able to really create these positive associations, emotions, and experiences over a long period of time, you're able to really foster a stronger relationship with your audience, and you're able to really build that legacy with your audience. So branding is more of a longer term thing. Some companies, they've been building their brand since the 1900s. Some brands have existed since the 1800s. So it's a much longer term thing. So the goal of branding is to foster a relationship and build a legacy for your business or your organization. So one example is personal branding. And one example of personal branding is probably Oprah. So you're probably familiar with Oprah. So that will give you a better idea of the power of having a strong personal brand. So when you have a strong personal brand, people, they know you, they like you, they trust you. They're more likely to follow your advice. They're more likely to buy what you have to offer. Another example is location branding. So for example, a place like Paris. So when you hear the word Paris, what images come to mind? What experiences come to mind? These are all examples of branding. So it's how people perceive, how they feel, and how they experience the brand. So it's more of the essence and how that essence is being expressed. So let's talk about marketing on the other hand. So marketing, on the other hand, is more about reaching more people and creating that interest that leads to actions. So it's more about how can we really reach more people? How can our brand reach more people? And how can we really either reach them, or how can we attract them to us? So marketing is more focused on persuading and convincing people to take action. So whether you want them to buy what you have to offer, you might want them to vote for a politician, you might want them to donate, you might want them to subscribe. So these are all the things that marketing is focused on helping you to do. It's just helping you to persuade people to take action so that they understand why they need to take action. So it's about how can we reach people and how can we get them to take action. So ultimately, the goal of marketing is usually more awareness or more transactions. So we want more people to learn about what we have to offer, and we want them to take action based on what we want them to do. So one example is outbound marketing. So for those who aren't familiar with outbound marketing refers to, for example, when you try to reach people where they are, you're trying to reach your customers where they are. So let's say you hire a telemarketer. So a telemarketer would try to reach out to people's phone numbers of different prospects to teach them about your brand and what you have to offer. So that's an example of outbound marketing, is you're reaching your customers where they are. Another example is inbound marketing. So inbound marketing refers to when you're trying to attract customers to you. So for example, by creating the content that your customers are interested in, you could attract more people to you over the long term. So these are all examples of outbound and inbound marketing. So how can we really get more people to take action? And how can we really attract more people so that they can learn more about what we have to offer? How can we create that interest? So when you look at branding and marketing side by side, you can have a better idea of the relationship between the two and why you can't really have one without the other. So in case you still don't understand the relationship between branding and marketing, here's a great analogy to help you to really understand the relationship between branding and marketing. So marketing is the instrument, but branding is the melody. So your marketing is just an instrument that you use to get the word out. So your marketing is the system that you have in place. It's the mechanism behind it. But your branding is the actual melody that attracts people. It's the essence. It's how you really express the core of what your brand is about. It's the story. It's the music behind it. So branding is kind of an art form, while marketing is more of a science. But marketing and branding, they're both an art and a science. So if you have really good marketing, or if you have a really good instrument, but your branding doesn't really sound right, if the melody doesn't sound right, then more people would hear your music, but it might chase them away. So it might not really attract them to you. So if you have a good instrument, but you have a bad melody, then lots of people will hear it, but it's not really going to attract them. It's not going to resonate with them. And at the same time, if you have a really, really good melody, but you have a really bad instrument, then no one is going to hear your melody. It's just going to sit there. So marketing is how you really get your melody out there so that more people can hear it. And the way people think is they like music that really fits who they are as an individual. They like music that fits their lifestyle, and they like lyrics that they can really relate to. And that's the same with branding. So if you're trying to really build an emotional brand, it needs to really fit their lifestyle and their preferences, similar to a favorite song. So marketing is the instrument, but branding is the actual melody. So yeah. So one mistake that a lot of people make is they focus just on marketing and then they completely disregard branding because they don't really understand what it means and they don't really understand how everything fits together to help them to grow their business. So if you only focus on marketing and disregard branding, then what happens? Your business, it might get more exposure, but it's not really going to stick. So your branding is what attracts people. It's the adhesive. So they have to really, so it's not enough to just get your business out there. They have to actually stick to it. There has to be something about your business that attracts them so that they stick to it, so that they want to learn more, so that it becomes a part of their lifestyle. So if you disregard branding, then you might get more exposure, but they're not really going to stick to it. And at the same time, it will be harder to stand out from all the noise in your industry. So think about all the hundreds or thousands of competitors who are out there. So when you have so many competitors, your brand is what allows your marketing to really stand out from all the others. So when you have a strong brand, you're able to stand out even though other people might be selling the same thing. So your brand is really what helps to differentiate your offer from all the others. And thirdly, your business, it might not be seen as credible or trustworthy because your brand is the credibility, it's the promise that people have. So it's all about looking more credible and how can they really trust that we're going to deliver on our promises. So if you don't really have a strong brand, then your marketing would be it's going to get out there, but it's not really going to be seen as credible, especially when there are other people in your industry who may be selling similar things. And also, like, the way people think is they tend to develop false perceptions about your business. So branding is all about shaping that perception. So if you don't shape the perception that people have, then they would develop false perceptions based on their previous experiences, based on what other people said. And also, like, if you only focus on marketing but disregard branding, then other people can easily compete with you just by lowering the price. So if you have a strong brand, then you can still attract customers, even though other people may be selling it at a cheaper price. And also your business, it may just not be seen as authentic because your brand is more of an expression of the core of your business. So it has to feel authentic. So if you don't have a strong brand and you're only focusing on marketing, then you're not going to be seen as authentic because customers, they're looking for more meaning behind what they buy. So there has to be a deeper meaning behind it and it has to feel authentic. So yeah. So my question to you is your branding aligned with your marketing? How can you tell if your branding is aligned with your marketing or not? So one way to tell if your branding is not aligned with your marketing is if, for example, your marketing materials look inconsistent. So take a moment and look at your marketing materials. For example, what is the thread that holds everything together? So everything needs to look cohesive. It needs to look distinct. So if your marketing materials look inconsistent, then it means that your branding isn't aligned with your marketing because your marketing materials are all over the place. So you may have, even online, so you may have different brochures, you may have different videos, you may have downloadable PDFs. So everything needs to look consistent and cohesive with your brand. Everything needs to really fit together and really help to tell your story of what your brand is all about. And also, if you don't really have a well-defined target audience, then it means that your brand isn't aligned with your marketing because you're just selling to everyone. You're not really taking the time to align your brand with who your customers are. Another way to really tell if your branding isn't aligned with your marketing is if you're only focused on the transaction instead of the journey. So a lot of people, they only focus on just the transaction. They just want people to buy, but then they're not really paying attention to the journey that they go through to become your customer or the relationship or what happens after they make the purchase. So if you're only focused on the transaction instead of the journey, then it means that your brand isn't really aligned with your marketing strategy. You're not looking at it from a broader perspective to really understand your customers and the journey that they take to become a customer. Another way to really tell if your branding isn't aligned with your marketing is if you keep competing based on price and getting underbid. So if you don't have a strong brand, then anyone can easily lower the price and compete against you and take your customers because you don't have a strong brand. But when you have a strong brand, you can raise your prices because you're seen as more credible, you're seen as more trustworthy, and you're really standing out from all the others. So it's much easier to have higher prices when you have a strong brand. So yeah. And lastly, like when you take a moment and look at your marketing collateral, your marketing copy, the copy on your website, are you using terms that other people are also using in your industry? Are you sounding too much like everyone else? So if you're sounding too much like everyone else, then it means that your brand isn't aligned with your marketing copy. So for example, if you were to look at your website or your brochures and you replace the name with another company's name, or you replace the logo with another company's logo, are you saying the same thing that could apply to anyone? If you are, then it means that your marketing copy is too generic because you're saying the same thing that everyone else is saying. And your brand is what really makes your offer unique, is what makes your offer stand out. So it has to be really tailored. It has to be tailored to your business and it has to be tailored to your audience. So if your marketing copy is too generic, then it means that your brand isn't aligned with your marketing. So yeah. So how can you really leverage the power of branding to drive bigger results in your marketing efforts? How can you really leverage the power of your brand? Like, what if no one knows who you are? So you don't really have to be a multi-million-dollar brand to leverage the power of branding. Even if no one knows who you are, you can still leverage the power of branding to drive bigger results in your marketing efforts. So one way for you to really do this is to align your marketing messages with your customer story. So by aligning your marketing messages with your customer story, you could align your messages with how customers think, and you could really tell stories that customers can relate to, that they can understand. So when they look at your brand, it should really fit who they are as a person. It should be like a favorite song. It should fit who they are as a person. It needs to really fit what they're like. So by aligning your marketing messages with your customer and who they are, you can leverage the power of brand to drive more responses, more engagements, more interest for what you have to offer, because you're saying things that people can relate to. They can see themselves in your videos, in your photography. You're making them feel better about themselves. So all these things would influence how people feel about your brand, and it would make your marketing much more effective. And also, just by having a really strong core message that runs through all your marketing, that can really make your marketing more impactful, because people, they're much clearer about what your brand is all about. So by having a core theme or a core message that runs through all your marketing, that holds everything together, you can have a much stronger brand that's being expressed through your marketing, and that would make it much more impactful. So what's the core message that runs through all your marketing? What's the core theme? What's the core purpose behind your brand? And how can you really express that purpose in a more meaningful way? And also, just by collaborating with others who share the same vision and who share the same audience, you can leverage the power of their brands. So by working with other people who your customers already know, like, and trust, they would feel the same way about your brand as well. So by collaborating with others who share the same vision, you can leverage the power of their brand so that both of your brands become even stronger, and you can achieve bigger results in all your marketing efforts. And also, it's really crucial to just go beyond the logo, because a lot of people, they see branding as just printing the logo on different items, but it's much more complicated than that, because the way customers think is they want to buy from people they recognize, from brands that they recognize, from brands that and they're looking for more meaning behind what they're buying. So it's all about the experience that they have. So it's not just about the logo, it's more about the experience that they have. So it's more about taking a look at all the different ways that people interact with your brand, all your marketing materials, and how can we really optimize it so that we can drive bigger results in our marketing efforts. So for example, you may have videos that you're putting out, you may have an ebook, all these things really help to tell your story. And all these things really help people to experience your brand in a more meaningful way. So yeah, and lastly, it's crucial to just stay authentic because the world needs more authenticity. So just by staying authentic, you could have a much stronger brand that has more meaning. So what's the core purpose behind your brand? What are your core values? What are the guiding principles that shape your decision making? And how can you really express that in a more meaningful way so that your brand has more meaning more in people's lives? So when you have a brand that's much more authentic, then it's going to naturally attract customers who are also authentic, because it's not enough to just have customers. You need to have customers that are of a good quality that will stick with you over the long term. So it's much deeper than just a purchase. It's more of a longer term relationship that you build, and it has to feel authentic. So yeah. So here are some other creative ways that you can really align your branding with your marketing. Here's some other creative ways to align your branding with your marketing to make it more impactful. So my question to you is, do you have a premium branded service offering? Have you ever considered having a premium branded service offering? So you might be familiar with personal branding or corporate branding, but no one ever talks about service branding or the branding of a service. But you can actually brand a specific service so that it's much, much more meaningful than all the other services that are out there. So one example is Stephanie Breedlove. You might not be familiar with her, but instead of just offering regular payroll services, she branded her service and she gave it a really nice name. It had its own logo and she called it Payroll for Nannies. So it was payroll that was designed specifically for nannies. And that's how she was able to achieve greater success, because she was able to brand a specific service so that it has more meaning, so that it's much, much more tailored. So it's always important to have maybe a premium branded service offering, so that, because a lot of times customers, they're not always looking for the cheaper option. Sometimes they're looking for the best option. So it's always a good idea to have a higher tier option that's much more premium, that's much, much more appealing, that you could provide. And when you have that, you could really have, so you can convince people that what you're offering is much valuable, much, much more valuable than all the other options in the marketplace. So when you take a moment and think about your different services, how can you really build a brand around a specific service so that it has much, much more meaning and it's not generic like everybody else? So yeah, and also you can also create a tribe around your offer. So by creating a tribe around your offer, you're able to bring people together who have certain lifestyles, certain beliefs, certain preferences, and you can really give them a sense of belonging, so that when you market to these people, it's much, much more meaningful to them because it ties in with their lifestyle and who they are. So by creating a tribe around your offer, you can make your marketing much more impactful because it's aligned with your brand, which is also aligned with their lifestyle and who they are. Another way to really align your branding with your marketing is by publishing a book. So just by publishing a book, you could have a much stronger brand, because once you publish a book, you're seen as more credible, you're seen as more trustworthy just by publishing a book. So just by releasing a book, you can convince people that your marketing is much more impactful because you're a published author. You've probably spoken at events. So all these things would make your brand look much more credible, so that when you start to market to these people, it's much more effective. And when people read your book, it's kind of like having a conversation with you. So when they read your book, it allows your customers to really get to know who you are and what you're like. So it's kind of like having a warm conversation with you. So by publishing a book, your brand can have much more meaning and it can feel much more authentic. So yeah. So my question to you is your branding really aligned with your marketing and sales? So let's dive into the Q&A. Does anyone have a question? Or feel free to ask your question or put it in the chat and I can answer it. Okay, okay. So someone asked, is a VIP day an example of a branded service offering? Yes, a VIP day could be an example. So a branded service offering is all about creating an experience around your offering. So instead of just selling a regular service, you can make it much more distinct. So you don't have to just sell the same thing that everyone else is doing. You can have your own philosophy on how to do things. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you can definitely rethink how things are done and challenge conventional thinking. As long as you have an approach that makes much more sense, you can have a huge opportunity for your services to really stand out from the others. Okay, so someone else asked, how do I go about naming and branding my services? Right now, I have my services in generic tiers, gold, silver, and bronze. Yeah, so ideally, it all starts with understanding. So before you name and brand your service, it all starts by understanding like who you're trying to sell to with these services. And then based on that, you could really rethink these services and think of ways that you can really make them much more tailored and much more meaningful and much more appealing. And then based on that, you can actually give them, they can actually have their own names. And it also needs to tie in with your brand and what it's all about. So you can actually brand the service and each of them can have their own name, and you can actually build a community around those services as well. Okay, does anyone have any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm a vegan chef and I have a weekly meal service. I have various levels of customers in regards to age. Either they're millennials for various reasons, or they're older folks who are doing it, changing their diet because of health issues, or they're environmentalists or whatever. So sometimes it's hard for me to figure out how to market to all of them because
Mhm.
they're all coming to my service for different reasons. And then my prices are higher. Yes. So I think it's perceived premium because the prices are a little bit higher than what you would get like in a fast food place. How else could I provide a premium service besides what I'm already doing?
Okay. So like based on the information that you provided, it seems that you're paying more attention to demographic data. So are you also considering the psychographic data as well, or?
When you say psychographic data, you're saying why? What is it that they need? Why are they wanting to use my service? Is
That's
that what
part
you?
of it. Yeah. It could also be like, just having a better understanding of maybe their lifestyle, right? Or how they choose, things like that. These are all examples of psychographic behavior. Just having a better understanding of how they think, so that way you can make more informed decisions with your marketing and how you craft your different services.
Now, how do you find that? Because they say find out where your people, what websites they're looking at or what magazines they're reading. Or I have difficulty finding how to find that information so that I can make it more targeted.
Okay, yeah, there are different ways, right? So like one approach would be, so just ask people, right? So do you have any relationship with any of your customers? Do you have people that you can actually reach out to and speak to?
Yes, I see them at the farmers market every week. So we have a long-term relationship. We see each other all the time. They talk to me. I find out what they want, what they need. I kind of tailor my product based on their comments and continually tweak based on what they say. That's why I do farmers markets so I can get that face-to-face feedback and then I can quickly make things change like with a day or two of our conversation and the next time they see me.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, when it comes to psychographic data, it's more of quality over quantity. So we're trying to really get to know them at a much deeper level. So I'm not saying like getting all your private information, but it's more about the quality of the questions you ask. So just by asking the right questions, you can actually uncover other subliminal other subliminal needs or other information, right, that can really help to guide your how you craft your different offers and your different messages. So even just by looking online, so there's research that has already been done a lot of times. You can actually find that psychographic data sometimes, and then you would be sometimes you would even be amazed at what you would find, that it might not even be what what you may think.
Instructor Eddie, I would like to chime
Thank you.
in on that person who just commented.
Mhm.
Something came to my mind, and it's based on something that you said earlier about core values. So for the person, the business owner who works the farmer's market, when I think of psychographics, also is diving into their core values. What's important to them? If it's education, if it's, I feel like your branding also could be around, oh, am I offering, you mentioned a book, but am I also offering an opportunity to kind of show and tell, an educational opportunity? It could be, I think you kind of tapped into what their values are, and it ties to even their demographics. So the age, what are they really, when you're thinking about psychographics and finding out what's important to them right now at this moment in life. And again, it could be education, it could be family, health and wellness sounds like a huge theme. So it's lifestyle as well. That's just what came to my mind during that
Thank you very
question.
much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's also the quality of the questions you ask, right? And just really understanding like what do they value the most, and really being able to, so it really requires a high level of empathy to really understand them, and like the ability to really understand like how people think, because not everyone may be good at this. Some people may hire someone else to do it, or they could also do it themselves, and just just being a good listener or a good observer to really understand them. Mhm. So yeah, who would like to go next? I see LaTanya. Who would like to go next?
Hi, this is Kelly Dominique. I have a question.
Okay.
So I'm a professional certified coach, and I have two different lanes that I'm trying to tackle. So in one space, I offer holistic life coaching to individuals, and I'm currently working towards creating a curriculum to have group sessions so that I don't have to do the onesie, twosie sessions and target a larger revenue that I want to generate based on how many people are in that group session. But at the same time, I'm also coaching in the corporate setting, and I do professional development, and I'm also doing motivational speaking and local county schools in my area. And so when I first started my company, the name of it is Obsidian Point Solution. It was more so targeted on a corporate setting. But now I'm trying to figure out how to rebrand and make one. So the name of for my holistic life coaching is Solar Power. And so meaning that your ultimate power, the authentic power comes from within. And so should I tailor my message when dealing with the corporate space, or whether I want to sell my services to the government, or can I kind of stay true to that sense of authenticity under the Solar Power brand? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Okay, I'm trying to understand. So you're trying to ask if you should tailor your offers to your target audience. Is that what you're asking?
So my audiences are different. So I definitely want the government to buy what I sell. And I've already done research to show that they do, right? They do pay for professional coaching services. But I'm wondering if I need two different brands, or I feel like I'm moving in two different places, right? So with the holistic life coaching, I have the Solar Power brand, the name of my company, and then I have the other, which is for corporate settings. In your opinion, based on what I've shared, should I have two brands, or should I just, does it make more sense to have one?
Okay. So the Obsidian Point Solutions, is that also life coaching, or?
It's coaching, it's professional services coaching, but the audience is different.
Okay.
So essentially, yes, it is life coaching, but it's more so geared towards professional development.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they do seem pretty different. So let me see. It also depends on what's feasible for you. So like if you could build two brands separately, like is that something that you're able to handle? You think that's something that you're able to handle, or?
No, because even when whether I'm doing professional development training or motivational speaking, I am leveraging my story, whether it's my experience working in corporate America or, you know, defying the odds in the way that I grew up and having some measure of success. It's my core values are still the same. It's just the audience, you have to tailor the message a little bit differently, right? Depending on who you're speaking with. But I really love the solar power brand, and I feel like it could work no matter which space it's in. I
Yeah.
just don't know how others would perceive it from like the government.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is a much more complex question. So I'll probably need to take a look at it to really make
Okay.
a more informed decision.
Okay.
So I have something, if I may add, everybody. Thank
Mhm.
you. So Kelly, what came to my mind for you is I work at a university and I feel like you have two very distinct target audiences, like a university. We have kids in college, we have senior programs. So you're one brand, one company, but you're servicing what I think I hear you saying, different populations. So when you're putting that brand together, whatever your vision and mission is, so helping that match, coming up with a way, and you may end up needing a team versus trying to come up with two different brands. You may just need a team to support you in what you're doing. But what I hear you saying is you definitely have like two different target audiences or target market, but it's like one university can give out 5 or 6 different degrees. So you have 4 or 5 or 2 different products or different groups that you're trying to service. So that was just my noticing.
Mhm.
In my
I love the analogy that you used.
Okay, who would like to go next? You can put in the chat if you're too shy. Okay, I see Ali. Sorry if I
Alethea.
mispronounced your name,
Okay.
Alethea.
That's okay. It's Alethea. Good afternoon. I came on late, but my question, are you all going to send a PowerPoint for this? Because I don't want to ask questions that may have already been answered, because unlike the young lady that just spoke, my business I'm starting is also coaching and instruction, but it's geared towards those that are interested
Oh, you're
in
breaking off.
childcare, and those that are, I'm sorry, it's geared towards those that are in childcare, those that are considering childcare, and I've already trademarked the name. So I've had that allowance for that trademark name. I don't know how to get the brand recognition. So that's why I was asking, is there going to be a PowerPoint for when I missed? I was in a DMV, or
Okay, yeah. Feel free to reach out to us, and then we can provide that. And also, I put my blog link in the chat if you want to learn more about branding as well, which has even more
okay.
information. So,
Let me see. Can I see it? I can't see any chat prior to me logging in.
oh, okay, I could pull it again right now.
Okay, thank you.
We'll also be sending the recording of today's webinar to everyone who
Yeah.
registered.
Yeah, so even if you can't get the PowerPoint, you'll still have it on YouTube as well.
Hey Eddie, I got a question.
Sure.
Okay, so my name is Ade. I'm a CPA. So my clients, or ideal clients, are more like, you know, they're business individuals, like business owners, business executives. And so like I've developed like, you know, some what you might call like lead magnets. You know,
Okay.
a couple of like just like toolkits like to help you that would help like business owners, especially like that are just starting out, to like manage their finances. And I'm just trying to figure out like how do I kind of get that out there, and you know, at least kind of like use that to build, you know, um some awareness, you know, some of that branding that you're talking about. Like how do I, you know, what's the best way to get that out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, offering a lead magnet, it's a really powerful tool that I always highly recommend. anytime you have a website is to offer some kind of lead magnet. But when it comes to getting it out there, the first question that I would ask you is, does your website get much traffic? Because if it doesn't, then it's just a matter of probably creating a landing page in which you offer the lead magnet, and then you can drive people through it through paid advertising.
Gotcha. So I have the landing page, but I think that's kind of where I'm stuck now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like you can, so one way is, so there are different ways. So like one way is the organic way, which takes much longer, and the other way is through paid advertising. So you could drive people through your landing page with paid advertising. And then the second way is you can actually have, do you have a blog, for example?
No,
Okay, so yeah, having a blog is another powerful way to really create interest in what
but
you
I have an email newsletter. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you need to drive people to the email newsletter so that they could. So the goal of the lead magnet is to attract people to your newsletter so that you could really keep in touch with them, people who, who will probably buy from you a little bit later. So if you have a blog, for example, let's say someone is reading your blog, they find it interesting, they can still subscribe and get your lead magnet. So it's another way. So just by promoting your blog post, you can drive more traffic to your website, and that would also drive more subscribers who would get your lead magnets. And this way you can actually be sure that you're getting the right people because this is what they're interested in. There's people who are interested in that topic. So it's just a matter of promoting it in places where where your target audience might be located. And that's why I like Facebook and LinkedIn, because they bring people together who have certain interests. So it's just a matter of what Facebook groups or what LinkedIn groups are my target audience spending your time, and just promoting in those groups and participating in those groups.
gotcha. Thanks, Ellie.
Sure. Okay, who would like to go next?
Hi, can you just repeat that, what you just said about the organic way and the advertising?
Okay. Yeah, so he was asking about how to drive more people to his lead magnets. So there are two primary ways to drive people to your offer. One is through paid advertising. That's when you pay Facebook or Google to put your lead magnets or your landing page in front of your target audience based on, for example, search. Maybe if they search for a certain keyword for Google, or for Facebook, it could be based on their lifestyles, their preferences, things like that. So you can actually run an ad to get your offers in front of your target audience. And then the second way is the organic way, which takes much longer. So that's when you could just, for example, create a blog. So the goal of a blog is to attract people who have certain interests so that they could read what you have to offer and they can watch videos on your blog. And when people are spending more time on your website, that would make your website rank much better, and it would give your website much authority because more people are spending time on it. They're reading the blog. So when you have a blog on your website, you can attract more people because it's much easier to promote your website because they're visiting your website because they want to read the blog. And when they read the blog post, they're much more likely to sign up for your newsletter or to get your free download or your lead magnets or whatever you're offering. So that's the organic way. It's just by promoting it in places where your target customers may be hanging out. So it could be a Facebook group, it can be a LinkedIn group, it could be an online forum. But from my experience, the most effective has been number one, through Facebook and LinkedIn groups and through organic SEO. So that's when you optimize your blog posts based on keywords, and then over time, it would attract more of the right people who are searching for that keyword. So the organic way is much like farming, but the paid advertising way is much like hunting, in which you're going out to, to meet your customers where they are. But like the farming takes much more time and it takes a lot more discipline because you would have to release a lot of the content that your target audience are searching for online.
Okay, so the quickest way basically is the advertising.
Yeah, the paid ads, when they would put your
Ads.
offer right in front of them, as soon as possible. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would like to add, you know, I don't know if we did introductions or not, but my name again is Professor Coach Latanya. I'm also a coach, a professor in a business program, and entrepreneurship studies is one of my passions. And so what came to my mind about organic as well for all entrepreneurs is to think about the circles you were already in before you started business. So when I started to launch my business around relaxing resolutions, as you notice, this little photo behind me has to do with nature. It's not about me, really. It's about me giving some support here. I would believe the majority of my clients came from those circles I was already a part of. My students were already volunteering with mental health awareness, NAMI Maryland. So I ended up saying, hey, can you do a feature of me in your newsletter? Here's some of the work that I'm doing. So some of that organic can also come from the resources that are already a part of your inner core. So tap into that and don't forget those people who you've already maybe been paying no association fee for an organization you've been a part of or something you volunteered over the past, you know, decade. So go back into those wonderful resources that are within your circle already, and they will support. They do typically.
Yeah. So yeah, so your organic just means it's more natural. So they naturally came across your offer. They naturally came across your blog, came across your website. While the paid advertising method is it's more of Facebook putting your offer right in front of them. So it's always good to do a combination of both. But like she said, you would probably start with the resources you already have. Like you may already have the right connections that could really get you the reach, get your brand to more people as well. So yeah.
Well, yeah, the thing is that I'm a vegan chef, and a vegan like 35 years, but I'm new to the area. I naturally, as soon as I say I'm a vegan chef, I naturally acquire um, customers, and it's not just being a vegan chef. It's a lot of like 35 years being a vegan. You acquire so much knowledge and information you can just pass on, and there's different services that you can offer. So the only thing, well, I shouldn't say the only thing. Let me speak positivity. It's just I'm new to the area. But
Okay.
like I said, that organic way works for me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because it's a vegan chef, so that's more of a lifestyle. What you're offering is more of a lifestyle. So like there has to be some kind of conversation that you create around what you're offering. And that's what the organic is all about. It's all about creating that conversation about it and creating that interest over time so that it's much more natural, much more organic. So yeah.
So just in that instant where I have like different, you might have touched upon that, different services that I can offer. Do you have anything to add to that?
Different services.
Yeah, it's not just being, like I said, being a vegan 35 years, you acquire a lot of knowledge and skills and things of that nature. So then I would think behoove me to, or I'm blessed with the ability to offer different services, but then the thing is, how do I go about it with the branding and things of that nature?
Okay, so are you saying that you have other services outside of being a vegan chef or
Well, it can come out of just the fact that I'm a vegan chef.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say just just focus on where your strengths are. Like, what your strengths are and what you're most passionate about. And naturally, it will get you to where you need to be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
And then Tiffany Thomas was just asking if the vegan chef could put their email in the chat, please.
And I had to change devices, so this might have already occurred. Was there a brief, elevator pitch for everyone or an invitation for people to drop their information in the chat? Is that a part of this workshop or no?
Yeah, anyone could feel free to drop your information in the chat as well. Feel free to drop your information. So the chat is pretty open. So like you can place your information in there, you can ask a question, or you can just provide your opinion on anything. So yeah.
And then we'll take a few more questions. We have about 5 minutes left.
Mhm.
So does anyone else have any questions before we close?
Instructor Eddie, you probably already shared this. I commented earlier in the chat about your apricot
Mhm.
and the color. And I know you have articles already out there published around branding and coloring. Did you want to touch on that a little bit, or the impact that color has?
Yeah, absolutely. So in branding, we don't just pick colors based on what we like or we don't like. We pick colors based on the experience that we're trying to convey. So it's not just about what we like and what we don't like. So the colors that we choose, we like to approach it much more strategically. So we consider like, who are we trying to speak to, and how will we describe the experience of the brand? Is it an exciting experience? Is it much more calm and soothing? Is it geared towards an older audience? So all these things would impact our design decisions. And we also look at color. We consider like the entire experience, like how does it translate to online, how does it translate to offline, and we try to keep everything cohesive and assign different roles to different colors, because different colors have different meanings as well, especially in other cultures. So it's also important to understand like what's the meaning behind the colors that we choose, and how does the meaning also tie in with our brand and what our brand is all about. So the reason why I chose apricot branding was because it's a much brighter color, and it really conveys the idea of really bringing ideas to life. So it's all about helping people bring ideas to life and revive their business. So yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. So yeah, actually, I have a blog post where I talk about it in more detail. I put the link in the chat. So like I touch on like a lot of different aspects of branding, how to choose the right colors, how to position your brand for success, how to better understand your customers. I provided lots of different links where you can get information about your target audience. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. I even provided advice on how to decide on the right logo, how to decide on the right name. All these things are all part of your brand building efforts, even how to improve your website. So
I have a question.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I forgot what it was. I'll come back if there's time.
Okay, great.
And then Eddie, if they want to reach out to you, can you put your contact information in the chat as well?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I put it previously, but I can put it again.
Yeah, just
I
for
re-
anyone who joined late.
Sorry,
Okay.
I remember. Do you have any advice on how to hire people to help you with this kind of stuff? You know, go to Fiverr or Upwork or whatever, but sometimes we don't really know what to ask. Do
Mhm.
you have any of that in your blog post to help us figure out? Because we don't know what we don't know, and sometimes we hire folks and we don't exactly get what it is that we asked for from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's actually a common mistake that people make, is that they don't really know much about branding neither, or marketing. So they don't even know like who, how to hire the right people, who to really go to. So they end up on these websites like Fiverr or Upwork. And then what that leads to is you end up having a brand experience that doesn't really look legitimate, because it's not really consistent, because you have someone in India designing your website, and then you have someone in Bangladesh designing your logo or your business cards. So ideally, it's good to before hiring someone, they need to display some kind of expertise. So are you just hiring people because nowadays anyone could just claim to be, you know, a web expert or a branding expert, but like, where's the proof? So like, can they actually demonstrate that expertise? And that's how you can really tell like who, you know, who you can really hire, because they're able to really demonstrate that expertise and provide you with proof. So maybe they've done talks, maybe they've done a book, maybe they have a blog, maybe they've done videos. All these things would make them much more credible. And then it's just a matter of deciding based on their approach. So different companies have different approaches. So it's just a matter of whose approach do you like better? Who do you like better? So that would also play a huge role in how you decide. But yeah, I would highly recommend not going to like so many different companies for different things, because you end up having a brand that looks inconsistent. So yeah. And also you might even have some friends or people in your network who can look at, maybe look at your copy and just provide you with, some advice or some tips. So
Thank you.
yeah.
I also dropped in the chat SCORE. SCORE has been very supportive and helpful with our entrepreneur students. So
Mhm.
getting free business advice from experienced mentors. So I put some information in the chat just in case.
Okay.
And of course, Eddie, you can consult with Eddie. That's why he's here.
Yeah, absolutely. I offer like free consults, like around 30 minutes, in which, we can just talk about, your brand and where you're trying to go. Even if you already have a website, I can take a look at it and I can really dissect that website and tell you why it's probably not working. So
Awesome. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for everyone for attending. Thank you, of course, to Eddie for his expertise. The next session will be on August 10th at same time, 4 o'clock. If you're interested in joining the chamber, we would love to have you. I've put the link to that in the chat. Again, this webinar was recorded, so we'll be resending the recording to everyone who registered. So thank you. Have a good day, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
great to have you all. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Great. Have a great one.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie.